Well, Senator Tom Cotton of Arkansas, Republican, had a pretty fascinating exchange in the Senate this week with actually over Kroger. There's a merger that Matt Stoller and others have covered very well between Kroger and Albertsons before the government right now. I think a merger that's worth blocking, certainly, on antitrust grounds. And Senator Cotton confronted Kroger today on the antitrust case over basically woke concerns, saying, don't come crying to Senate Republicans over, to get us to stop a merger from being blocked when you are harming or going after Christians in your workplace. Now, whether or not you think the steps Kroger took amounted to harming Christians in the workplace, we'll get into
a marginalized community.
A marginalized community. Let's play the clip first and then get into some of those details.
This situation reminds me a little bit of the situation big tech companies have found themselves in recent years. They've come to Washington because they fear regulation from our Democratic friends or action by the Biden administration, and they expect Republicans, who are traditionally more supportive of free enterprise, to come to their defense. And I've cautioned them for years that if they silence conservatives and center-right voters across the country, if they discriminate against them in their company, they probably shouldn't come and ask Republican senators to carry the water for them whenever our Democratic friends want to regulate them or block their mergers. So I've heard a lot of questioning about that today, and I've read a lot about it in the news. And I'll say this: I'm sorry that's happening to you. Best of luck.
So conservatives saw this and were just cheering wildly for it and saying more of this, more of this, more of this. And listen, I agree, more of this for sure. But this is, again, verbal. It is an exchange in the Senate on C-SPAN that will be clipped and will be circulated. And there is a very big difference between saying something like this in the Senate and supporting, and I'm not accusing Tom Cotton, this is about the Republican Party more broadly, supporting appointments to, for instance, the FTC that will allow mergers like this to go through. That will allow, by the way, as you merge, Matt Stoller makes this point very well, the consolidation becomes a consolidation of viewpoints, and there's less competition for viewpoint management, et cetera, et cetera. Now, Tom Cotton's complaint is basically that there was a suit that was brought by the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission in 2020 that was brought on behalf of two Kroger employees that didn't want to wear Kroger aprons that they interpreted as being in support of the Pride movement. They had rainbow hearts stitched onto the apron.
They didn't want to wear the flare.
They didn't want to wear the flare. And Kroger said, this is just part of our new marketing campaign. It's not LGBT related, but they actually settled to the tune of $180,000 with these two employees because the employees said, can we wear our name tags over the heart, or I will pay to get myself a different
cover the
apron. That's what Kroger said.
Can't cover the flare.
Until they settled, and so that's, I think, the heart of Tom Cotton's issue with Kroger. I'm sure Kroger has other maybe objectionable diversity policies that get into questionable territory. That's probably the case. But this was the high-profile sort of complaint against Kroger in recent years. Again, saying it is one thing. Taking action on behalf that would actually make it harder for organizations like this to impose a viewpoint, but also just would be better economically is an entirely different thing.
So Tom Cotton wants free enterprise, but not like that, basically.
Well, Tom Cotton introduced a federal minimum wage increase bill.
There you go.
He's taken some interesting steps.
What regulations would Tom Cotton like around uniforms? Like, who's going to, does he want an agency that is in charge of, inspecting uniforms for, political compliance with GOP orthodoxy?
Well, does he believe, like Marco Rubio, that employees in situations like this should be able to handle it through unions? Right? This is something that Marco Rubio, he has a different plan to create organizations similar to unions, but a little bit different. But he has in the past said at places like Amazon, it would make increasing sense to have employees, when they feel their viewpoints are being bulldozed by corporate, people in C-suites in Manhattan, to litigate some of those problems through collective bargaining.
Yeah, and also then there's some union protections. If a union worker doesn't want to wear the flare, then at least then they can fight it out through the grievance process or rather than in the precarious situation where workers have so many fewer rights in situations where they're not in unionized stores.
Well, in this case, the EEOC won the settlement to, again, the tune of $180,000. Because Kroger fired the 2 employees, and that's where the suit came in.
For not wearing the flare.
For not wearing the flare.
That's an Office Space reference. If people haven't seen it, maybe that's before a lot of viewers' time. Incredible movie.
I'm just not a big Office Space fan.
So
I'm
good.
probably gonna get so many comments about that.
Great movie. Great movie.
It's not
Did she quit over the
bad.
flare?
It's not a bad movie, but it's like has cult status, and I feel like maybe that's overstated.
Anyway, it is fun to see support for cracking down on big business, as particularly with antitrust, but also more broadly from Republicans, even if it has to come because on the tech side or it's around censorship, and I guess in the grocery store side it's even around censorship too.
Yeah.
Whatever brings them to the battle against corporate power is a good thing. It takes, a coalition takes people who are there for all sorts of different reasons, and if you get to a place where the people have more control over society democratically rather than corporate America exerting its influence undemocratically, then okay, that's a good thing, and good for Tom Cotton.
Yeah, and you can count probably on one hand the senators
incoherent as it might be
would take a position like this from Tom Cotton when it comes to actually voting on things and not downplaying, saying this publicly and saying it in the Senate. But you can say Tom Cotton, Marco Rubio, Josh Hawley, certainly J.D. Vance when he enters the Senate, and that doesn't amount to an earth-shattering change in the Republican Party because it's still limited to them. And if it's limited to them, you'll get viral clips like that, but you won't get a different FTC. You won't get changes. And the case that I've made repeatedly to Republicans is that if you see the C-suites telling folks in Ohio that they can't wear a name badge over their union, if you see that, or they can't wear a name badge over the heart, if you see that, you should look into what Amazon warehouses' safety records look like compared to Walmart, compared to other major competitors. Because if they're doing that on the cultural level, imagine what they're getting away with on other things. So it's just a really good glimpse, I think, for Republicans into what corporations will do when they're so divorced from their actual workers. They're in Manhattan, they're in D.C., they're in L.A., wherever they are. I think Kroger's technically based in Ohio, but the point remains that you have people who are culturally, socioeconomically very diverse from the workers they're overseeing. And without those intermediaries, that's dangerous, both on a viewpoint level, but certainly, as we've seen with Amazon, just a physical level as well.
I would expect on its merits that the FTC and Lena Khan will block this merger. We'll see.
I would expect as well on the merits, for sure.
Wokeness aside.
Yeah.
But so Tom Cotton will not be riding to the defense of Kroger.
Sounds good to me.
All right. Interesting times, that's for sure.
Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Sagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us, and if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.